We welcome you to a U.S. soccer doubleheader here on Fox Sports, and we begin with the world's #1 ranked U.S. women's team in Norway for a matchup of past World Cup winners. Then at 7:30 Eastern, we shift our coverage to Mexico City for a World Cup qualifying edition of one of the best rivalries in the game, the U.S. and Mexico.
Two teams, two matches, playing for one country, for one crest. First, the defending World Cup champion U.S. women travel east to Norway. Even in a friendly match, the U.S. wants to prove they are always formidable.
Carly Lloyd lets it fly to goal!
And show the world they have new stars ready to rise to any challenge.
A shot! What a goal!
Then, over 5,000 miles away, the U.S. men travel south into hostile soccer territory to take on the current kings of CONCACAF, Mexico.
You do not know the meaning of hostile territory until you walk out onto that field.
Michael Bradley leads a fast, strong, and confident American team that wants to take control of their World Cup destiny. Two matches, both fought for the glory of one crest. The summer of soccer continues on Fox and FS1.
Plenty more at halftime and postgame, but for now, let's kick off our U.S. Soccer Day. U.S.-Norway women's activity. JP Delacamera and Ali Wagner.
Thanks, Rob. Ali, this is a very experienced Norway side that the USA is facing today.
Yeah, I mean, they're experienced, but they look new to me. I mean, this team looks different under their new coach, Martin Sjogren. Usually they're coming out in a 4-5-1. Not today. They're going to come out in a 4-3-2-1. And when you typically see this team attack down the flanks, this is more of a central attack. Starts with Maren Melda in the back line. She used to be a center mid for this team. Now she launches the attack as a center back. In the midfield, Hovey, number 20, someone Americans are going to be familiar with as she plays with the Boston Breakers in the NWSL. And then up top, number 14, Ada Hegerberg, arguably the best top number 9 in the world right now. And she's only on the eve of turning 22.
And for the USA, they'll make some changes from Thursday's win over Sweden.
And it wasn't the best performance by the U.S. I think that's a fair statement, but they do roll out in a same 4-4-2. Changes you're going to see is Casey Short pops out to that left back position. Abby Delkemper steps into the center back. Crystal Dunn comes to the right flank, and that opens up an opportunity for Rose Lavelle to play in that number 10 spot as Carly Lloyd sits on the bench to start this one out. And I think this team is going to look more dynamic in that front six, and they have to be more fluid in their attack.
Well, much like Christian Pulisic has become the offensive driving force of the USA men's national team, 22-year-old Rose Lavelle has become an offensive catalyst for the women. Goals in each of her last 2 games. More on USA versus Norway when we return.
We're proud to reveal that Jim Beam Black has been awarded the world's highest rated bourbon. Their words, not ours. Make history.
For the USA, Becky Sauerbrunn will wear the captain's armband today. She's the only U.S. player to play every minute of all 6 games played in 2017. Kickoff is next, USA versus Norway. Well, in recognition of LGBTQ Pride Month, this U.S. team is wearing Pride-inspired rainbow numbers in their jerseys. These jerseys that you're seeing are red. The U.S. will be in white today. Fans can purchase customized jerseys with the rainbow numbers through ussoccerstore.com. U.S. men wore the rainbow numbers in their friendly against Venezuela, and USA women wore those same jerseys against Sweden, as they will tonight versus Norway. Big test coming just days after the 1-0 win against Sweden.
Yeah, I mean, it's a test, but again, this is still a preparation, experimentation phase for the U.S. I mean, they're really looking at getting players developing into certain roles on the pitch. I think Lavelle, Pugh are 2 of the ones that we talk about consistently. And it's going to be about what they can become as you head into the World Cup 2019.
Ada Hegerberg is the player to focus on today. She is good for both club and country and is still a rising star. She's still
so,
a kid.
She is, and I mean, in 2015, she really had her breakout. You see a good picture of her there, but she's grown from that moment, and I said it in the Open, in the lineups. I mean, this is probably one of the top number 9s in the world. Alex Morgan had to move to the left side when they played together at Lyon because Ada Hegerberg owned that position.
3 years with her club team Lyon, 115 goals in 99 games played. We always talk about that ratio, Ali. You score 1 goal for every 2 games played. That's amazing. She's done better than that.
And think about the cast of characters around her. So she does this on her own volition. I mean, she doesn't have the supporting cast that a U.S. team typically has, that a German team has, that a Japanese team has, and you're going to get to see it today. I mean, this is a player that in and around the box is lethal, and it's because she trains time and time again, pushing her limits, trying to figure out how she can be better, and she's a student of the game. And I've talked to her about some of the players she watched. Thierry Henry was one of her favorite players growing up, and she loved his heading presence, and that's something that she actually has worked on and has gotten better in her game.
Amy Fern from England is our match referee. This game means more to Norway. They'd love to get a result. And the team that you're seeing today might be the team with a couple of changes that you'll see when they open up Euro 2017 against the host nation, Netherlands.
I think a result today has a big importance for them. I know they're downplaying it. They want to continue to improve, as their coach Sjogren said, but to get a result will give them that confidence as they go into the Euros. And when I think of this Norwegian team, I kind of have a parallel on the men's side with Bale and Wales heading into Euros back last year in 2016, where you can ride the wave of some of these outstanding players. These are some of the best players in the world, and that doesn't happen all that often when you're coming out of such a small nation as Norway is, and they can ride that wave and do something special in the Euros if they can get the midfield piece right.
Mjelde and Sauerbrunn wear the captain's armbands today. Carly Lloyd generally wears it. She's available on the subs bench today. The U.S. came here with only 19 players, and Williams, one of the 19, who plays for the North Carolina Courage, is out with an ankle injury. So U.S. are dressing the 18 that they have, and there are several injuries. Players like Morgan Bryan, Tobin Heath, Alex Morgan, Ashlyn Harris.
Well,
a lot of good players left behind because of injury.
With injury comes opportunity for some of these players. Look at an Abby Dahlkemper getting to step in the center back position. You're getting to see what Dunn can do in the flank, what Lavelle and Pugh can do. So, and in midfield without Bryan, you're getting to see Long and Mewis partnership. I mean, it's just an opportunity for these players, and it almost makes it easier on Jill Ellis to decide who she gets to put out there, because there's not a ton of options and a lot of depth right now.
USA will be in the predominant white. Norway, red shirts and the dark shorts. Final huddle for the USA as they get ready for this. 2 games in 4 days. Travel to Europe. Players came from their respective NWSL clubs. NWSL idle this weekend because of the international calendar. We await the whistle from Amy Fern, our match referee. A small but noisy stadium. Seats just over 6,000. Underway. Long will push it back. Dahlkemper's first touch goes back to goal. Listen there with that strike to the right side for O'Hara. And it was given away quickly. Hovey's pass, give and go. Hovey playing it in front, swept away by Sauerbrunn. U.S. immediately under pressure after that ball was lost.
Well, that's what Norway's going to look to do more often than not, I would think, is press this U.S. team. I mean, they've seen that when the U.S. is pressed, they typically have trouble playing out. Now, I'm not saying that's the way this game is going to progress. It's the first 5 minutes, and oftentimes you see some nerves in those beginning moments before players settle in.
U.S. will have a throw-in. That's the player to watch, Ada Hegerberg. Terrific goal scorer. Deadly inside the 18. The long pass that's blocked. The U.S. not happy with their passing game. Head coach Jill Ellis talked about a disconnect, Allie, on Thursday. What was that about?
I think everyone who watched saw the disconnect. I mean, they look so stretched out, and I would say in particular from their midfield to their front two. there was no one getting in those seams, layering it up, if you will, to try to connect the team and possess it long enough to get your outside backs in advance.
Volda finds Hansen. Runners in the box, but the foul against Short, who played professionally in Norway back in 2015.
I like the 1v1 defending there by Short. Body off the player.
Almost a corner kick here from where that ball is placed.
And I think one of the things the U.S. has to be careful of is giving away silly fouls in their defensive third. Norway is so good on these set pieces.
Ready for this free kick. Swung in. And that goes wide. Just wide of the target, so it's a goal kick for Nair.
And just as I say that, very poor execution on that set piece, but they've got such great targets in Hagerberg.
As Martin Sjögren, Swedish-born head coach, has made changes in the formation, wants them to play more of a possession style.
And more variety in the attack. I mean, this team used to be so direct. They were in their 4-5-1, 4-3-3 attacking, and now it's a little bit about more movement off the ball and building in their possession.
By the way, we gave out a starting lineup before, and there's been a change. We'll have to find out why. Klingenberg is out there. I don't see Mallory Pugh. Number 7 in the white of the USA as this ball is played long. Press on it. We'll try to get that information. There's Klingenberg on the ball. Broken up. Guessing that there was an illness or an injury in the warm-up because the lineup came out and Mallory Pugh's name was on it.
Great pickup, JP. I think Klingenberg had a bit of a struggle against Sweden, so it's interesting to see her out there. Not a lot of depth on that left side for the U.S.
Just told that Mallory Pugh had an injury in the warm-up, so let's hope it's not serious.
It's something the Washington Spirit fans don't want to hear either.
Just signed as a professional. You got a chance to watch her play. I'm glad she stayed in this country instead of going over to Europe and play. And NWSL is happy as well.
I think it was the right decision for her developmentally as well, because this is the most challenging league week in and week out. And because she's so athletically gifted, and when you go overseas oftentimes, you can just bring that element and you separate yourself by that fact alone. But here she's going to have to bring the tactical and technical nuances and develop that part of her game because everyone is so fast and athletic.
Throw in for Vold for Norway. Off a miss-hit. US will try to collect something there, but they can't. And Norway will look to counter. In the middle, it's Hegerberg, the sister of Ada. Played back by Long. Dahlkemper. Sauerbrunn. Right side, O'Hara. Lavelle. Long, high up the field. We'll push it back. Better possession here from the U.S. Moving the ball around quickly. It's Short. Casey Short sends one into the box. Couldn't find Crystal Dunn. Gathered in by Hansen. She'll look to lead the attack. Numbers forward for Norway. 4 in the attack, make it 5 now with Hansen collecting. Lays it off on this near side. Trosnos curling ball in. That was a weak effort. Goes right into Nair.
And both attacks somewhat similar for the U.S. and Norway. Both outside back squandered possession that was looking so nice for both teams.
Kelly O'Hara, 96th cap. She'll play it forward, presses after it. Cut off there at the back by Melda. Maren Melda, the captain.
A good cover by Melda, but I think that's something that's going to be on for the U.S. because the center backs don't have the quickest of feet.
Norway will play it out of the back. No pressure yet from the U.S. Trosnos. Maelda. Wide on this left side. Torsnes holding there. Several of these players, better than a dozen, were on this World Cup side for Norway in Canada 2015. They lost in the knockout round to England.
And I called that match, and I think that was an unfair result for Norway, in fact. I think they were the better side on the day. But a screamer, I believe it was Bronze who hit it from outside the box, ended their run.
Hovey's pass back. Settled. And Heidelberg's pass ahead now on this left side. Nobody home out on the wing. O'Hara will have that one covered. Eighth minute of play. Zeros on the scoreboard. This used to be the USA's top rivalry. They've only played Canada and China more than Norway, and Norway's beaten them 19 times. No one else has done that.
It's a good stat, JP.
It is.
I mean, this rivalry was the largest when I came onto the scene for the U.S., and I think it's petered out over the years. But with this group, with an Otto Hegerberg running the show, with Hansen in midfield, I think this group has the potential to do something special. It's just a matter of whether they can get that depth to make deep runs in tournaments.
Picked off. The U.S. trying to push it up with Press leading it. Dunn on one side, Lavelle the middle on the other. Press will lay it back to Long. Dunn missing the target. Dunn just coming back from a stint with Chelsea, where they won the spring title over in England.
But now really has nowhere to play as they're done with their season. Just shot way off target. But you could see Norway immediately get back in defensive shape when they turn that ball over. They know how big transition is against the U.S. When they do that, though, they've got to get pressure on those players. You can't let Dunn sit at the top of the box wide open like that. Too easy.
Torsnes pushed it back. Played back by Berge. Goalkeepers are very experienced. Halesmith. 3 players on this Norway squad. 100+ caps. Given away needlessly there. Throw in for the U.S.
You can see what Norway wants to do. They get those outside backs rotated forward, keep their 2 center backs staying home, and their 3 midfield stay back as well.
Klingenberg wanted back. Lavelle pushing it back. Klingenberg all the way back.
And here's where the tempo for the U.S. has to pick up. When they change the point of attack, can they probe quickly? If it's not on, okay, possess it, but it's got to be quick.
O'Hara to Dunn, bringing it towards the middle. Halle Long. Dahlkemper. Kept on the deck by Mewis, but it's going out of play. Here in the 10th minute, how similar is this game to the game against Sweden? Or how different?
You know, I think tempo-wise, it looks a lot faster. I think that the U.S. has been able to condense. They just look more tied in defensively and offensively to start the game. I mean, only 10 minutes in. But I do think you're seeing similar elements where both Mewis and Long will stay home. And that happened against Sweden. That was a problem. That was one of the reasons they were so disjointed. They didn't get anyone in that kind of attacking mid-roll. But I see Lavelle popping up in those spaces, and that's going to help solve it.
Well, they were looking for dynamic play on the wings and then brought in center with Lavelle on one side and Pugh on the other. Klingenberg's role, I would imagine, would be different, a different type player than Pugh.
But she fades inside anyways. Even when she plays that left back, she will come inside. I think that's her natural tendency. So I think she will do that. However, I don't know that you want her on the ball as much as you want a Dunn or a Lavelle.
Off the pick there. Pushing it forward was Hovey. Hansen. Hovey plays for the Boston Breakers, playing it in front, swept away by Casey Short. Norway is finding some room, though.
And it's no secret when you play the U.S., those pockets behind the outside back are on. I mean, they go in, a little in, 1-2 between Hansen and Hovey there, get in behind O'Hara because she's pushed up in an offensive position, and that space is on. That's where the U.S. is vulnerable.
12th minute, Norway with this throw-in. Long, perhaps. Nope. Torsnes will go back instead to Hansen. squaring it. No room there, so it's forced all the way back. Berga. Maelda. Berga keeping it on the ground, cleared away. Intended for press. Headed forward. Out of Hegerberg, pushed it to the outside. Gridvold. Defended by Klingenberg. Spurred. Maelda. Forced back by press. Berga.
This is fine by the U.S. The U.S. wants to force Norway to go around the outside. They think Hegerberg and Hansen in the middle are the most dynamic pieces to this Norwegian attack.
Torsnes, nice cut inside. And then it's played wide. Intended for to Hegerberg. That's the danger, though, of Norway. She said it should have been a corner.
You said it, JP, because I know that's where they perhaps are the most dangerous, but they're so good when they get around the edge and serve that box, especially with Hegerberg. I mean, she just has a knack for finding the spaces in there. Mark tightly on that one, however.
She brings it every day to training. That's what the coach Martin Sjogren told us. That's one of the reasons why she's still improving. Coming up later tonight, 7:30 Eastern. We'll all be watching this one. Mexico versus the United States. USA doing much better these days. We'll see what the altitude does, really, to both teams, because a lot of these Mexican players, Ali, no longer have that advantage since they play in Europe.
Right, and the U.S. is coming off of a game in Denver at altitude, so they're going to be acclimatized. I know it's not the same, but having said that, we talked about it. I think the U.S. can steal some points tonight.
Long foul was given there from Hovey. 14th minute. Scoreless here. U.S. coming off that 1-0 win over Sweden on Thursday. Klingenberg holding there. Short has been playing as a center back and now moved back to left back.
She's probably the team's best defender 1v1. Where she needs to grow is in her offensive ability, her ability to connect passes and not be a liability, because I think teams are going to start to scout her and recognize that they want her to be the one to play out for the U.S. That's where they can pick some passes off and launch a counter.
It's Rose Lavelle, just 22 years of age. Goals in back-to-back games. 2 goals now in 5 appearances for the U.S. Roll out of play.
And with Lavelle, JP, I mean, yes, she scored those goals, but you think of her as being the creator, the one who can beat the lines, the one who can set up that final pass, and she's just so dangerous, and she's going to develop.
Back to goal. And Seth will put it back into play. Left sideline. Torsnes has room on the wing. Dunn will try to close it down. Spurred. Hansen comes back. The US have everybody back now defensively. Switch to the left side. Torsnes. She's found some room. Plays it across. Not a good clearance from short. Torsnes got it back. Lifted long, and that's too far for Hovey.
Oh, but this is such a different Norwegian team than I am accustomed to seeing. I mean, their patience and their possession, their expansive shape in the attack is something that have never been traits of this side. And you can just see the influence immediately. I mean, 6 months under Martin Sjogren, and they've changed this much already, just 4 camps.
Off Hegerberg. Let's look at the 22-year-old Rose Lavelle. Sjogren knows. He scouted the U.S. team, so he knows what Lavelle can do, and others.
And only in her 6th cap.
Almost getting through was Hovey. That's O'Hara for Dunn. Norway trying to pin the USA. Oh, that was sweet from Lavelle. She has one of those in every game, at least one of those moves. Maelda will win it back though for Norway. It's a changing Norway side. Several players retired right after the Women's World Cup. Players like Gudbrandsen. So they've had a mix and match. Some of the veterans stayed on, but a lot of newcomers to this squad.
Gudbrandsen was one of the midfielders, and that's an area that Sjogren told us is something he's looking to iron out and figure out who's going to be those 3-4 players that he sticks with heading into the Euros.
Casey Short plays for Chicago in the NWSL. They're in second place in the standings.
Ooh, and they look good.
Yeah. North Carolina is #1. They were the defending champs. Last year they played as the Western Europe Flash. The U.S. will win the ball with Mewis. Held up by LaBelle. Waited for Klingenberg to get open. 18th minute, Klingenberg. Star is a left back against Sweden. It's her normal position. Long, keeping it wide. Sauerbrunn, that's as high up the field as she's been during the run of play so far.
I think there's a spot that is definitely out there to be taken, and she's so good on the ball. Not that last possession, obviously, but she's one of those players that connects a lot of passes that you actually forget how good she is defensively. But I think she can fill into this role very nicely. She's been outstanding for North Carolina.
Press done in front, and it's cleared away for a corner. USA's first. Maelda knocked it out.
Just a good look at press, pulling off.
Did see a shot of Mallory Pugh on that U.S. bench. And Sydney Leroux also there. Her first time back with the national team since 2015. Had a child last year, so that pregnancy took her out of the NWSL season and also away from the U.S. women's national team. Lavelle to take this corner in the 20th. She'll float one up. Second ball comes down. Press collects. Have a second try at it. Sauerbrunn cutting, laying it off for O'Hara. Kelly O'Hara drives it into the box. That's cleared away. Norway now will try to get it upfield. Press recovered it. Back for Short. Dahlkemper. Mewis. Mewis has started every game this year. Second only to Sauerbrunn in minutes played.
She's one of those that will develop nicely for this U.S. team with the more minutes she gets.
Bump of the ball. Dunn goes down. Ball goes out. Torsnes was defending.
Well done by Torsnes there to stay with Dunn. Looks like a foul. Clips her from behind at the last second. You know how explosive Dunn is, and with Torsnes to be able to hang on there.
Let's get your take in the first 20 minutes.
I think overall, you know, conceding opportunities, the U.S. has done that in a lot of games this year, but they're finding their way in as the game's gone on, and I still think a better tempo, better rhythm is something that's going to behoove them. They've got to get more numbers around the ball, and players, like you look at Pulisic, the way he did for the men, beat some lines on the dribble, the way Nagby does.
Hegerberg tried to find Bold, and that's picked up by Short. Klingenberg, and immediately they cut off that sideline. It's a good job from Norway. U.S. tried to get out of it. Norway wouldn't let them. Hovey, quick ball ahead. It was intended for Andrina Hegerberg, but it didn't work.
I think these U.S. players are capable of taking on, beating that midfield line, opening things up. Crystal Dunn, a perfect example.
Nice ball slotted to Kelly O'Hara. The right back high up the field. Back for Dunn. It's too far away from her. Hansen coming back for Norway. Holding, waited patiently for the help, and the help is now coming. Isaacson. Nice ball slotted. Hegerberg! And it falls nicely for Alyssa Nair, but that was the best opportunity for either side today.
Easily a great opportunity for Norway, and it happens in a transition moment. Here you think the U.S. is coming down the one side with the little 1-2, and then a misplayed pass really launches the counter for Norway. And you can see how explosive they are. I thought Hegerberg was going to have a go from that angle, but she chose wisely in trying to slip that across, but well done by the U.S. to be marked up on those players.
The Nair clearance. Dunn looks for it. Here in the 23rd minute, Kelly O'Hara will push it back. Sauerbrunn. Dahlkemper.
And I just want to see the U.S. center mids, the Mewis, the Long, get on the ball more in those situations. Demand it. Change of pace. Get it in that pocket of seam, beating those front runners, right? Get faced up, and then start to pick apart Norway.
So Russia versus New Zealand on Fox next week. Confederations Cup begins. Mexico would love to win that title if they could. They are the CONCACAF representative. And that's one of the reasons why they played this game today at Azteca, because some of the other teams in the group are playing towards the middle of the week, but they had to push that game up because they are off to Russia.
It's a very capable team of lifting that trophy.
Ball out for a throw-in for Norway. Torsnes. Long throw-in. So far, not that many touches for Anna Hegerberg. And they don't mind if she has the ball that far out. That's her sister on the ball. Andrina waits for the help. Hegerberg. Look at those step overs. She was doubled up. U.S. knows the threat there, so they sent a second player over.
And as good as she is in the box, she's very capable of taking players on 1v1. Good defending by O'Hara just to stand her up.
Hegerberg, a teammate of Alex Morgan at Lyon, a very talented side there. Torsnes, and Norway will get a corner here.
I mean, Norway, as much as they've talked about going down the center of the park, they want that variety in the attack, and you're seeing them get around the edges of the U.S., forcing those corners.
Carolina Hansen, who plays for Wolfsburg, will play it short, right at the near post. It was intended for Hovey. Hansen will have another go at it. Looking to create with that cross. It's close to 3 players from Norway, but none of them could get a good grip of it. Mjelde. And that's right at Alessaner. Right away, Nair tries to help jumpstart the offense with the outlet to press. Press to the halfway line.
And she's been so good for Chicago coming off that back line and getting faced up, running at the opponent. I think if she can do a little bit more of that today, going to be a brighter influence in this match.
Sauerbrunn from Dahlkemper, 26th minute, zeros on the board. USA versus Norway. Norway has one more game to go before they start the Euros, and that's against France away. So they pick 2 tough opponents heading into Euros to see where they're at. USA and France. Sent into the box. Press. Cutting it back. Klingenberg. Couldn't get a shot off on her own. Drops it off. And that's well wide. Sam Mewis coming through.
And that build up by the U.S. all started with Sam Mewis. She's the one who gets on the end here with a strike, but she played a lovely weighted pass out wide to Klingenberg. And you saw the U.S. the little combination find some space on the inside once they kicked it wide. But that's what I want to see more out of, those 2 center mids dictating this game. Yes, I know Lavelle can break things open, but they've got to be the ones to find her, to start to spread open Norway so they can penetrate centrally.
Long and Mewis have been playing together centrally. There's a lot of depth on this team when you think that Morgan Bryan, a starter, is injured. Tobin Heath, a starter, is injured. So when those players get back, all of a sudden, there's a lot of talented players in that U.S. midfield.
It's going to be interesting to see who Ellis gives the nod to. I mean, I know part of this is development and experimentation, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything if you start, but nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see what chemistry develops.
Long, pushing it back. Short. It's knocked away by Norway, but it's going to go out of play. Throw in for the U.S. in the 28th minute.
I think against Sweden with Dunn and Lloyd up top, that chemistry piece was lacking. I'm not so certain with the Long and Mewis how their chemistry is evolving just yet. I think those are partnerships that are so important to this U.S. side, and yes, it's early, but you want to see flashes of brilliance come together. I think Lavelle and O'Hara actually had nice chemistry on this right side.
Norway back on it. The sideline for Hovey. She'll cut it into the middle. Hegerberg. Stepping back, leaving it off. Torsnos. Pressure on the ball. That worked from US. Launched the other way. Messonnier will watch it go out for a goal kick. You note some of the Norway players have different names on the backs of their jerseys. Some of them have 3 full names on the roster, but I assure you we're going with the correct ones. So 10 is Hansen. Short. Dahlkemper. Almost at the half-hour mark. USA trying to create something here with Klingenberg. A late starter for the injured Mallory Pugh, injured in the warm-up. Hansen. Intended for Vold. It's going to go out of play. Throw in here for Norway.
And GP, you asked how this was evolving 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in. I still think lack of execution technically has been something that was a problem against Sweden. I think that's still been the case here today against Norway. On that last play with Megan Klingenberg, does a nice move to beat her player, and then just a poor square giveaway that really could have been a counterattack moment.
Try to get more touches on the ball for Lavelle.
I think you continue with spreading the pitch out, but then you've got to find her centrally. It's up to Long and Mewis to start dictating the tempo, do it quicker, pull Norway out of their shape so you can find her in that seam.
Torsnes. Oh, she bumped into O'Hara. No foul called. The ball went out, and it's going to be a corner. Torsnes has been very impressive at the start of this game.
And a great seam right here outside O'Hara. Lovely first touch, in fact, to cut inside, and then she just bulldozes over O'Hara. Physicality was never something Norway lacked.
Nope.
Still don't.
Going back to the early 90s. Corner driven in near post. Second ball. One in the air by Short. Sent right back. Isaacson. And the flag's up.
And US was doing a nice job on that second ball. They were all marked up, aware of where their player was as that reservice came in, pulled them offside.
Nair will push it short. That one didn't have enough on it. Hovey took it away from O'Hara. Nair has to come out. Hansen came out. US dodged one there. The distribution error almost came back to bite the US.
It's that fine line you live on. You want to possess out of the back, but you've got to do so in an intelligent way.
Not like that. That was on cue. To illustrate your point.
Goalkeeper to goalkeeper. I always go back to, why do you want your goalkeepers playmaking? You don't, right?
Ask Pep Guardiola. That's what he wants for Manchester City. He just signed another goalkeeper, supposedly very good with his feet. Here's press. Down this right side for Dunn. Torsnos, who's covered so much ground, won that ball. Now pressure on the ball from Dunn. Others must also pressure if Dunn's going first.
And with more urgency. I mean, you're in there. Don't give up on that play. Dunn just let it fade away because I think she didn't feel the support of her team. I mean, she's got to be the one to continue leading that charge, and then everyone's got to tie in. I mean, that was something that they lacked against Sweden, was being tied in defensively, pressing as a unit. Felt like they always had one toe in the water, and they weren't necessarily committed to those moments.
A throw in for Klingenberg. To get the return that's blocked. Lavelle. Press. Ali Long. Right side, it's Sauerbrunn. Again, trying to go higher up the field as an option. O'Hara. Norway try to angle her options away. Sauerbrunn, nice ball in. Mewis. Stretching was pressed, couldn't get it. Elmsmith off her line to grab it.
It's a great test for the U.S. We know how they've struggled historically breaking down teams that get a lot of players behind the ball in their defensive third, and who can be the players that step up with that change of pace, with the impetus to beat a line, to break things open. We've always talked about Lavelle as being that player of the future. Can she do it today?
Torshnus, defended by Dunn, squaring it into the middle. Hansen stayed with it, then went down. Sauerbrunn in traffic. Did well just to get that one out, not to lose it where she was.
You're right, she clips it over their feet, sends that out of bounds. But I'd say Norway thus far have had the more dangerous opportunities.
Throw in for Torshnus, 28-year-old, very versatile player for Norway. Got it in for Hovey, back for Torshnus. Forced back by Dunn. Look out here, Isaksson playing it in front, swept away. Dahlkemper in the end did well to not let that ball get behind her.
But Norway's having a lot of success on this left side, getting around the edge. This little slip pass, Isaksson is just sitting in that gap between those backs, brilliantly weighted.
Hegerberg blocked. Lavelle takes off. Talented Boston Breakers midfielder going forward, and that last touch too heavy and lost it. Fights to try to win it back and does. So a good second effort from Lavelle. Press on it. The way it was laid out to us yesterday, Press was going to be playing up higher. She's been anything but that today. She's drifting way back to receive balls.
You're right, and Dunn was going to also push up high with her, thinking those two were going to look to use their pace to spring in behind. But I think that's what Press tends to do if she's not seeing the ball, is she tends to fade back into midfield, try to get her feet, which is not a bad thing because I do think she's so good when she's faced up running at that back line. But the U.S. just hasn't really been able to possess it long enough to find her early high in those spots.
Hansen, good on the ball. Straight ahead, Hovey on the left. She was looking for Anna Hegerberg, and it's another Norway corner.
Waves of attack right now by Norway. You have to say they are in different phases. We talked about it, but they're getting ready for the Euros. So I expected them to be sharp today. They look a lot sharper than the U.S. thus far. And the U.S., you know, the result isn't as important as it is for Norway.
Hansen drives it again. They're going near post in all these corners. None have worked so far. Torshnus in the 36th minute. Got it out wide. Hansen slows it down. Looks for options. Good on the dribble. Plays it inside, and that's cleared away. It's off Mewis. It's coming right back, and Nair will make the easy play.
You said it, JP. I don't know why they're going near post on all those corner kicks, because they do have such a tall, imposing threat in Hegerberg at the back post with her heading ability.
Possession is even. The U.S. has improved their possession stat according to statistics from Opta. When they went from the 3-back to the 4-back, their possession improved by 8 to 10%.
Yeah, it's possession where, though, right? Is it along
Yes,
that back line?
true.
Is it in the attacking third?
They've also won games, too. Remember, when they went with the 3 in the back, had those 2 big losses in the She Believes Cup. Since then, they've won their last 3. Outscoring opponents 10-1.
I still stand by the fact that I don't know that the 3-back is a terrible idea for this group. I think they're capable of pulling it off. It's with the right personnel. I mean, when they get in their attacking shape and they are in a 3-5-2, I think that's when this team can look the most dangerous and at their best. And maybe it's just the fluidity of a system that this U.S. will benefit from more so than coming out in a rigid 3-back.
Well, they have time to develop it if they want to.
Absolutely. And if you're struggling in depth wise to find outside backs, you know, it is a reason that you look at playing perhaps 3 center backs because you feel like you're strong there.
In the 38th minute, zeros on the board, USA versus Norway. Norway have looked the more threatening of the two sides. Near to the halfway line, was looking for long. Lavelle leaves it. There's Lavelle on the return. Out of the University of Wisconsin finds Dunn. It's a nice run by Klingenberg, who switched to the side, but the flag's up.
Oh, but that's a perfect imprint and picture of how the U.S. wants to play. Nice little easy ball back by Lavelle. Then she pulls herself wide to receive that ball again. Finds Dunn in that little slip channel. And then Klingenberg all the way from the left side making the run across. Good fluidity up top by them.
39th minute, Norway will play it out of the back. Last game for the U.S. until they start another tournament, their second one of this calendar year at home. They'll take on Australia, Brazil, and Japan at 3 West Coast venues. So strength of schedule, very good for the U.S. They don't have any meaningful tournaments coming up, but they're trying to play some games that mean something to them. Torsnos. O'Hara stays with her. Torsnos lets it go. Thinks she's got a corner. U.S. thinks otherwise. It is a corner.
And again, the attack for Norway coming down the left side. Time and time again right now, they're finding space inside that rotation by the U.S.
Hansen again near post, and Mayer somehow stopped that. Looked like it was going to go in. Lavelle on it, and then the big clearance. Did that ball have something on it or what?
I don't know if it takes a deflection here because it just catches her. She sees it late, in fact. Lucky her feet were up there and got that deflection.
Torsnos. Nair made 3 saves the other night and getting her 9th career shutout on Thursday against Sweden. Vold versus Short. Try to find Hansen. U.S. wins it. Klingenberg. Press. Mewis.
And I think that decision by Mewis is not right. You've got Norway. You can see all their numbers were on that side of the pitch. Mewis has to have the awareness that the ball's got to come to this near side.
Torsnos. Pushed across by Berga. Maelda. Vold for Norway. 41st minute, scoreless from Norway as this ball goes out of play. It's a USA throw-in. We're allowed 6 subs in this friendly, so we'll expect to see both teams go to their benches in the second half.
And you'd almost think the U.S. more than Norway coming off of playing Sweden 2 days ago.
Short kept that one in play in front of assistant referee. Press.
And all the way back in midfield.
Long. Way out was O'Hara and open. O'Hara on the move. Trying to get it through the legs of Hovey. Hovey's back on the ball. Short in the circle. And that's going to go out for a Norway throw-in. Deep in their own territory. They didn't lose a game in Euro qualifying. 7 wins and a draw. And outscored opponents 29-2. So they were dominating, largely due to Hegerberg. 10 goals in qualifying.
Well, they have quality, you can see it. And they've got the discipline. I mean, their ability to, or commitment to get those numbers behind the ball, slow down the transition of the U.S. has been great.
Pushed across by Berga. Maelda. 43rd minute. Scoreless here. We'll have highlights from this game coming up at halftime. We'll also go back to the famous Azteca. Rob Stone and the group down there. Big day for them, long day for them, because that kickoff USA-Mexico is several hours away. Mexico versus the U.S. tonight, 7:30 Eastern on FS1. Well, those guys play tonight, Chicharito and Dempsey. Chicharito did not play in the game against Honduras. Dempsey started, came out during the game. Substitution was made by Bruce Arena. Could have been with an eye towards this game today.
Could have.
We'll find out soon when lineups come out.
All right, with Osorio and his rotations, you don't know if that was with an eye towards this game either, but you'd have to think so.
Mewis, Sauerbrunn, Dahlkemper, 44th minute. USA defensively has bent, but they've not been broken so far. Norway's had a couple of good looks at least. Short.
Well, they've conceded the flanks at times, but they've been getting back defensively centrally and marking up in the box and not allowing Norway to be free inside the penalty area. So, you know, when you're playing these matches, you know you're going to concede something. The U.S. is willing to concede, rotating those outside backs forward and leaving those outside pockets open. It's just a matter of being disciplined enough to mark up in the box and really try to slow down those transition moments.
Adrina Hegerberg is fouled. Will they want O'Hara to not go forward as much, or will they want someone to help cover for O'Hara on that side? Because that's the side that Norway's exploiting.
Well, I think they've been so worried about the central attack, keeping their two center mids and center backs in a block.
Roshnos did the USA a favor there with that giveaway, and Klingenberg starts the attack.
So you know that, yes, okay, we're going to concede something. We're willing to concede the flank space as long as we're marked up in the box.
Too far for Ada Hegerberg. Off the chest of Long. O'Hara. Given away.
Oh, by the U.S. Not a lot of creativity in the final third. I thought Norway looked more exciting getting around the edges in those flank spaces. But again, a lot to build on. 2019's far away.
We'll come back. We'll show you highlights from this game, and then there's also going to be another trip to Azteca. Come back with us. It's scoreless here at the half.